All right, the other story that's been kicking around this week, in delivering on its campaign promises and its first 100-day plan, there are going to be, what's my estimation, 3 years, 4 plans, 12 100-day plans. The government is going to introduce legislation banning gang patches in public places. How's this going to work, and what will it achieve? To answer that question, we're joined now by the man who's got to push this through Parliament, the Minister of Justice, Paul Goldsmith. Paul, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, just a couple of very basic fundamental things I want to run through on how this legislation works. Who decides and designates what a gang patch is? How do we decide that? Is that in the legislation, or do we have a mechanism for doing that?
Yes, it's gang insignia, and as the legislation refers to, I think there are about 41 gangs in the appendix. There's current legislation already which bans gang patches from hospitals and schools, and it's worked very well. When it was introduced, people said it couldn't be done, and it was done, and it's actually helped reduce...
All right, so there is a list. Can that list change without going back for new legislation?
Yes.
Okay, and so who decides how to change that list?
Well, the government can add different new gangs to that list.
Okay, and what's the process you use to do that?
Well, order in council, I believe. So you've got the list.
Well, do you believe or do you know? Because it's quite important to know whether you're joining a group that's on the list.
Well, I mean, there's no problem. We can add names to the list. It's easy.
Okay, and do the people or the groups that get their names added to the list have any right of appeal?
Not in terms of the actual list of gangs in the approach. They can obviously deal with any... well, there's 4 elements to this. You're talking about the gang patches, but the critical parts also are the dispersal orders and the...
No. I just want to get back to what do we define as a gang? Because in lovely old democratic New Zealand, we wouldn't dream of having a government that, for example, before election... And I know it's hypothetical, might designate an opposition party as a gang and say all their branding is gang insignia. Now, heaven forfend that should happen in New Zealand, but to make sure it doesn't, even in the hypothetical, we need to ensure we have laws that would stop it happening. Yes.
Do
we?
No, well, there's a criteria, and it's got to involve criminal activities and obviously anything like that can always be judicially reviewed. So, I don't think there's anything...
All right, so that's how we decide what a gang is. Where precisely will gang insignia, and I think primarily when we think of insignia, well, is it just patches? Or is it bumper stickers and badges and tattoos on people's faces?
Well, it's not... what we've excluded is tattoos. And
why?
Look, in some places in Australia, well... for a host of reasons. Obviously, there's...
Well, give me one of those reasons.
Well, one of them is, there's a cultural link to tattoos, and we've got to be careful about that. But look, we're open-minded.
Well, hang on. There's no cultural link to having mongrel mob tattooed across your forehead.
Yeah. No, so what we've decided was we started with the gang patches, and we've excluded tattoos. Yes, in Western Australia, they included tattoos. So, 3 years down the line that we see that that's a problem, we can always add that. But at the moment, we've excluded tattoos, and we've also excluded social media as
what
well,
do you mean?
because that is a very fraught and complicated area as well.
Well, so you can have a gang insignia on your Facebook page?
Yes.
Well, geez. What do you think is a more effective tool of communication and recruitment than social media? That's way more effective in, if you like, creating a gang culture than walking down the street of a potiki with a patch on your back.
No. Well, see, the point is what we're trying to deal with is the gang intimidation that people experience on their streets. And so that's what we're focused on.
So this isn't designed to stop the gangs existing or growing or interacting with each other. It's just to make us feel better.
No. It's designed to actually make it more difficult to operate as a gang. And so
I'll tell you how you do that. You'd stop them talking to each other and conspiring on social media.
Well, that is one of the non-consulting orders for people who are serious gang members who have been convicted, and you can actually get a court order to say that you cannot communicate with a particular person who's also a serious gang member for up to 3 years. So look,
you can wear a gang. You can't wear a gang insignia down the street of a New Zealand town, but you can have gang insignia on your Facebook page, right, and on your Twitter account.
Yes, but not in a public place. That's right. Yeah, but
what is Twitter or Facebook? Is that a public place?
Yes, yeah, no. We've started with the public out on the street to try and deal with that issue of intimidation.
All right.
But you haven't given me a chance to explain what we're trying to achieve with the whole legislation.
Okay, go for it. Okay.
Well, the point is, we've had a 50% increase in gang membership in the last 6 years. People are worried about the intimidation and the crime that is associated with those. And so there are 4 tools that we're adding to the arsenal that the police have in their pockets to deal with gang activity. So 4 of them. One is banning the gang patches. Secondly is giving them the ability to issue dispersal orders. So if there's a big collection of gang members occupying a park or something like that, intimidating the public, the police can tell them to disperse for 7 days. And if they don't, they can go to prison. And then the third area is these non-consorting areas, so that if a serious gang member can't communicate with another serious gang member for 3 years, if they get a court order, which is it's a big deal. And then the final one is making gang membership an aggravating factor in sentencing.
Yeah, and boy, I think a lot of people have certainly said it's hard to get past that as a pretty good measure. How do you establish, Mr. Goldsmith?
But hang on. It's in combination. What we're doing is we're just giving more tools to the police to make it difficult to operate in New Zealand as a gang member. So that's what we're trying to do. And yet you can nitpick all the little edges around. So we're starting there.
Well, it's kind of a job.
This is based on a lot of this is based on what the Australian states have done. I've just been over in Melbourne, actually meeting with all the state ministers across Australia. They're all Labor ministers, and they're all much more vigorous than anything in New Zealand on this. They don't muck around over there, and that's what I think we've got a lot to learn from the Australian experience.
All right, and I've got to say, yesterday the Prime Minister boiled it down to, do you support gangs or not, criminal gangs or not? And some in the press gallery got a pretty short shrift when they asked, I don't know, somewhat convoluted questions like I just have.